This is how I went from this unit to the ATOTO A6 Performance Edition. In this video, I'm going to show you how the process of installing this unit went on my Mazda MX-5 NC. So after a long time searching for a decent Android head unit, I came across this ATOTO A6. This is a new model in 2022 and not the Pro version. In this box, you get a USB connection, a GPS antenna, another USB connection. This is the harness I'm going to need. This will connect to my car with another adapter I had to buy separately. These are the two line converters. I don't need these, but it's good that they've included them. This is an external microphone, which, fair warning, the quality isn't great, so I'm not going to be using it. This is another harness connection, but with just the wires, for people who like to splice the wires together. I'm not going to be using this. This is the last harness. There's about 3 of them in total. I'm not going to be using this one either, as my Mazda uses the B harness. These wires are for the audio inputs, like the external mic, rear view camera, and subwoofer. I'm not going to be using these either. These are the side plates to attach the unit to the dashboard. There are 2 types of faceplates. There's this one that is the standard doubled-in faceplate, and there's another one that will slide in and out as you need it. Also, all the screws are included. Moving on, you get these 2 faceplates for the units to match whichever fascia you have in your car. I didn't need to use neither of these, as the standard fascia in my car fits this ATOTO unit perfectly. I did order another fascia for it, but it turns out I actually didn't need it. These are more wires for the antenna, RC, and the parking brake. I don't need these either. Lastly in the box, there's the manuals. In these manuals, you have the wiring guides, which wire does, and what's the different connections you have in the unit. Last but not least, you get the unit itself. And wow, is it a thin unit. This is a full 7-inch widescreen, but it's so much thinner than my standard unit. On the other side, this is where the main harness will go. That will connect into my car. I'm going to do that next. At the top is where the USB connections will go, plus all the other optional extras. This is where the standard car radio connector will go, which mine doesn't have, but that's okay because I never listen to radio anyways. This is the Wi-Fi antenna, and that's a really small antenna. On my old unit, I had a full-size Wi-Fi antenna. Lastly, this is where the GPS unit will go. Now let's have a quick look at everything you get inside the box. And these are all the tools that I have used to install this unit. These are pretty basic and simple tools everyone should have. Starting with a Phillips screwdriver. I also have an electric one that I've tried to use, but it wasn't very practical. The next thing you're going to need is a 10mm spanner and a wrench to take one pesky bolt out. If you don't have an MX-5, then this probably doesn't apply to you. Next is a wire cutter and stripper to splice 3 wires together. And lastly is a set of trim pullers. Okay, first things first, we need to connect the car to the unit itself. For the power, the speakers, and more importantly for my steering wheel controls to work. This is the wire loom I need for my MX-5. The manual does explain what all the wires do, and I just double checked that they matched my adapter, which they do. The adapter I bought sadly was missing 2 wires for the steering wheel controls, so I had to get 2 pin connectors and add these 2 wires to the right places. I will leave links in the description for all the parts that I've used, including the wiring diagrams. In short, this was a lot easier than what I thought. I just had to connect 3 wires together, and that was it. Comparing the wires on each side, I had an extra wire from one side but not on the other. For some reason, these blue wires for the power antenna, which although I'm not connecting, I'm still going to splice these 2 together. So I need to pop this connector out of the harness so I can splice it with the other wire. To do that, all I used here is a paper clip, and it's really easy to remove. And just like that, the pin is released. With the wire out now, I can snip the ends and strip it and splice it with the other wire. For now, I'm just going to use electrical tape. Once I've tested it all out and made sure that all properly works in my car, I'm going to solder all these wires together, and I'm going to use heat shrink tubing instead for a much cleaner and better connection. With that wire now done, I have two left to do, which are the steering wheel keys. As you can see from the label, it doesn't really say how to pair these up, so I'm just going to take my best guess, and if it doesn't work out, then I will have to swap the wires later, before I solder them and make them more permanent. For now though, I need to add one more wire to either one of these, which is a ground wire. It's labeled and already spliced up for me, so that this one connection will have 3 wires going all together. Like so. Moving back to the head unit, now it's time to attach all the wires. You can't get this part wrong as the connections only fit where they are supposed to. All the connectors have different sizes and shapes for ease of use. The first wire to go in is the main harness for the car. Next up are the USB connections. They both provide power and data. If you use the phone link, then the USBs are labeled for that. Next up are the side plates. I need to get this unit in my fascia. At first, it didn't look like it was going to fit in, and searching on Google didn't help much as everyone was saying that the standard TomTom unit fitted in my car was not a standard double-sized DIN. So I did order another fascia, but before it arrived, I thought I'd try it anyways on my current one, and luckily it fits perfectly. I have the MX-5 NC Venture Edition, and the Sanyo unit that it comes in is indeed a double DIN, so I didn't need to order another fascia in the end and will have to return it. So now with the unit sides all done, I have to go into my car and remove the old unit and set up this new one. First things first, I have to remove the plastic cover from under my steering wheel, so I can reach the security bolt. It's in a really awkward place and I've tried to record it, but it was really difficult. After around 10 minutes, I finally removed it. Mine had some tape around it, but I'm not going to add it back in. Next up, in this particular model I have, sadly the center console needs to be pulled out as well. There are 3 screws holding it all in place. 2 in the back, here, and 1 in the middle. The front part of this is only held by 2 clips on each side, which you'll need to pull up. I'll show you how to remove it, although I've only pulled it up and didn't actually remove the whole center console, as I didn't need to. You can reach the 2 screws to remove the side panels just fine if you lift it up enough. With a little bit of finessing, I was able to remove the side panels and expose the 4 screws that hold the fascia in. There are 2 in the front and 1 on each side. With the screws now gone, you can just pull out the radio. But before it all comes out, remember to use protection first, as the shifter can scratch the screen, so put a cloth on top of it to prevent any damage. With the unit partially out, you can see that now I have to remove all the wires and harnesses from this main unit. I will completely remove them from the car as well, as I don't need any of these. Now I just need to add the ATOTO unit on these brackets and we're ready for a quick test. With the unit in, it came on straight away. It's really fast too. There's an annoying beeping noise for every time you type at the screen, but it was good as it told me the speakers were working. I've set up and tested all my steering wheel controls, which also works straight away. This has been a lot simpler and easier than what I first thought. So I've tested it all properly with some music and it sounds just as good, if not better than before. Now that I've tested everything and everything is working fine, it's time to actually tidy up all the wires back there, solder everything that I need to solder, and put the unit back. The side panels need to be putting back in and screwing in. The center console also needs screwing and putting back, which is really easy to do. Once all it's done, that is it. In just under an hour, I had it all set up and working perfectly. For now, this video is just going to be about the setup and install of this unit. My next video is actually going to be reviewing the unit itself. So please do subscribe for that and stay tuned for more.